Hey, by the way, tonight's game, New York wins that outright.
You know he's on top. Million subs, he never gonna flop. Out of Chicago, where the streets don't sleep. Betting on games, making cash real deep. Crystal ball for sports, he knows the lines. He's a sports aficionado, the money he finds. From football to basketball, he's always on point. Predicting winners never disappoints. He's got that hustle, that Chicago vibe. Making moves on the streets, cash on the side. With E, you know it's always a bet. He's the king of the game, never forget.
Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports show for May 13th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. Absolutely loaded episode for you tonight. Gino has his horse racing bet of the day for the Preakness, and from Arizona, making his debut to the show. Really excited to pick his brain. I've heard nothing but good things about him. Justin, aka Justin Paul Sports on YouTube, Justin Paul Sport on Twitter. Really excited to pick his brain, talk a little shop with him. But before you get all that, I'd like to say thank you to the sponsor of the show, justouttennis.store. Go to justouttennis.store, use promo code ETOFT21, get 10% off your order, and ProphetX. If you're not using ProphetX, guys, you're missing out. I really believe this peer-to-peer betting is the future of the industry. FanDuel, DraftKings, I think that's going to be put in the rear mirror. I think peer-to-peer is the future, so make sure to check that out. Use promo code ETOFT21. You get 2% back for your first month of betting. Now, before we welcome Justin into the show, let's see what Gino has cooking for us over at the Preakness.
Best bet for this week? Well, we got to go to the Preakness and take a look over there. So journalism is going to be the heavy favorite. Honestly, he should be like 3 to 5, but generally they don't have horses get that low in the Preakness anymore. Usually the money gets spread around a little bit. The horse I've been waiting for is the 6 River Thames. This one actually qualified for the Kentucky Derby, but they chose to skip the Derby and point to the Preakness just to kind of get him a little more matured, to get him more ready for the big races. He's never run a bad race. You can see he actually finished right behind Sovereignty in the Fountain of Youth. He almost beat him that day, and we know Sovereignty came back to win the Kentucky Derby. I just think he's coming out of some of the stronger races, and I love that the trip he's going to sit. Feels like there's a couple speed horses. You'll have the 1 goal-oriented show speed, the 3 American Promise showing speed. Both of them are really quick. And then Clever Again is also fast. I think River Thames could be sitting 4th or 5th just behind them, maybe right next to Journalism. And if Journalism's not as sharp because of the short turnaround, I'm hoping River Thames has a little more in the tank because he's a little fresher here. So I'm going to give the 6 a look. River Thames, top selection in Saturday's Preakness. If we can get anything 4 to 1 or over, I think that's worthy of a win wager.
Make sure to give my boy Gino a follow at It's Me, Gino B on social media. Gina's going to be on the podcast later in the week. We're going to give more of a dive into the Preakness, talk about some pick 4s, pick 5, pick 6s, also some head-to-head stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Now, let's welcome from Arizona, my boy Justin from Justin Paul Sports on YouTube. Make sure to check that out. He posts videos where he breaks down the UFL and everything. And Justin Paul Sports on X. Justin, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I am doing good. And you know what? I'm always about history. I think you are the first person ever on the show to come on with a tie.
Oh, man. Well, you know, for me, betting and sports is serious business. And when somebody invites you as a guest on the show, you know, you got to take that treat them with respect, treat the host with respect, and let your viewers know that what's going on with that. So I'm glad you like the tie.
I appreciate that, man. So we have right away, Sports Facts chimes in, Cavs suck. Before we talk about our takeaways from the weekend, let's just touch on the series. What was your thought of the Cavs Pacers series?
You know, I'd heard actually, when teams are 1 seeds like this, there's a lot of, I think you can get complacent. Now, in basketball and hockey and things like that, when there's an entire series to play out, usually it doesn't kind of work that way. I'm a big football bettor. So with football, you kind of can sometimes see how these one seeds can get upset. We saw it with the Lions. I'm wearing a Lions hat, but we saw it last year with them. We saw it in the college football playoff with Oregon. You know, they went undefeated in the whole season. And I think that there's a psychology to series and things like this when your regular season ranking is so high that you think you got extra chances. And Indiana was one of those teams playing with house money and handled business big time. I mean, big props to the Pacers. I mean, you just go back and forth and say that Cleveland, I think a part of it too, you know, I don't know if we're the same age, but I'm in my mid-40s, and I remember those series, NBA playoffs in the 90s, they were way more contested. Feels like here, maybe with this generation a little bit, that you can rest on your laurels and think that you're going to pull it off no matter what. So Indiana wants it. They felt like they could easily win the East. I mean, I think they could be an NBA Finals team, and it would not be a shock.
It's just this team, like last year they had the injuries that helped them made the Eastern Conference Finals. Who knows? You know, Bucks had injuries, and part of me really thinks that the Cavs just whooped the Heat so easily. They came in with a little bit of a letdown, and then it was kind of like, oh shit, and they really couldn't turn it on. And when we look at the history of Donovan Mitchell, he's put up some great numbers, but he really hasn't won. He was the top seed with the Jazz when the Jazz had that historic season. They lost the Clippers. Yeah. Mann was the main guy. Leonard didn't even play, and they lost to a Terrence Mann-led Clippers team. So it doesn't really surprise me when you really kind of look back at it that the Pacers were able to put together. And this kind of leads me into the next question before I ask you this. Where does Giannis get traded to? The Bucks, if you look at it since the COVID season, they have the highest winning percentage in the NBA for the regular season at 660. So, I mean, this is a team that is winning in the regular season, but they just have only had one quote unquote run where they're able to get a title. They've had some bad injury luck, like I talked about last week. But I Hate the Lakers 99 is asking, where does Giannis get traded to?
If you were to ask me, I would think, well, what you did, you just asked me. Okay. I think that there has to be a new approach to trading players. So if you're Milwaukee, what I would do, and Giannis says, I'm out of here no matter what, the smart money, a smart GM would trade him to any team that's going to give you the best haul. I don't care who it is, right? And there has to be something in return. So what teams can offer the best return for him? I mean, does he go out west? Does he stay in conference? I think a dark horse contender could be the Bulls, but we know how Jerry Reinsdorf is. He's a pariah when it comes to sports ownership. I really can't forecast where. It's really hard to kind of forecast where. I think he's going to want to go somewhere where he's in win now mode, like a lot of these players do after they've had their first big deal. He's got his championship already. And I know when it comes to sports in general, people throw championships around like it's nothing because they're so used to what Brady did and, you know, what Kobe did and the Spurs and these dynasties. And it's hard to do that. So I don't know. I think Milwaukee, I don't know. I wrote on X that it would have been great if Washington would have won a lottery and traded for Giannis. I think that could have been something unique. That could have been something great for the game. But I'm not quite – I don't want to give you a non-answer, but I'm just not quite sure where that GM's head is. I think the Bulls might be a team that can go out there and convince him to come there. They're on the cusp, but I don't know if the Lakers can pull it off. I don't think the Mavs are going to be in contention even with the pick. It's just really, really hard to say. I think you have to wait and see how the NBA season wraps up and see who goes. I mean, why not see him in Boston, right? I mean, he put him there. That could be damaging to the Eastern Conference at that point. Because then he's going to be hungry because he's not going to be in Milwaukee anymore. So when you leave a team, you get that new spark.
Mhm.
And we could see that happen. So I can maybe see the Celtics trying to do something.
And I mean, with no Tatum, I mean, they'd probably have to move Braun. I don't know. Like, that'd be an interesting thing, but do they have enough young assets to do it? Because I mean, that's kind of how I looked at it. If I'm the Bucks, okay, obviously, if the Thunder don't win it all, they're realistically not going to be able to afford J-Dub, Chet, and Gilgeous-Alexander on this with those contracts. Why not move J-Dub? They have like 29 picks. Throw some of those picks. You know what I mean? J-Dub and those picks. Then you have a budding star and you have picks to build around him. Sure. And with the Middleton trade, they do have some free agent money to bring some people, bring in a couple guys. That would be number one for me. Number two, I love Dylan Harper. I think at the end of the day, Dylan Harper, when it's all said and done, he's going to have a better NBA career than Cooper Flagg. Do you do Castle, the number 2 pick, and a couple more picks, but those would be like the focal points of the trade with the Spurs. Then the Spurs have Wemby, Fox, and Giannis, but that's it. They're going to be really thin on the bench. Are they, you know what I mean? Is that going to give them enough to get over the hump? There's obviously the Rockets. If the Rockets don't include Thompson in the trade, I want nothing to do with it. Like, I want nothing to do. I doubt they're going to include Thompson, but if they do not include Thompson, I absolutely want nothing to do with it.
Or we could see a scorched earth scenario like everybody had with the Luka deal. What if he sends him to Phoenix and gets Durant and Chan?
Jesus.
That puts him with Booker and Beal, because then you really gotta, that would be. I live in Phoenix. They'd go crazy if that happened. I mean, it's not going to happen, but you never know. Nobody thought that they would trade Luka for Anthony Davis. I mean, anything's possible. You just got to be able to catch these people at the right time and see how smart that GM is. So, will be interesting. Keeping my eyes peeled on that.
Can the Celtics come back, or is the Tatum injury too much?
I think it's a wrap.
You think it's done?
Yeah, I think it's done tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
I think it's done.
I will be honest. I have one bet in that game, and it's completely off the beaten path. But I found a little value bet, and I think you're gonna like it, my man. I think you're gonna like it. Let's jump into takeaways. I got a takeaway from the weekend. What is your takeaway from the weekend, my friend?
If you guys like football, I'm going to beat the drum for the UFL. I'm going to beat the drum for it because I'm a football fan first and foremost, and everybody gets their fill in the fall from college and the National Football League, obviously. And I've been watching more of the UFL than anything else. Baseball is too much in its infancy in the season to get true investment in it. And the NBA doesn't stimulate me as much as football does. So I've been watching since pre-pandemic with some of this stuff. And the games get better and better as the season gone along. My takeaway is to watch that. I don't have the record in front of me written down, but I have done very well against the spread in UFL games, except for last weekend. Last weekend I had the goose egg, went 0-4. But prior to that, there's a way to beat the books because they haven't figured out fully how to set the lines. So just a real quick thing, like with the UFL, I don't know if you know this or if you watch, but they don't have extra points. Yep. So they don't factor in the 7 correctly. They don't factor in the 6 correctly. It's crazy to me. These numbers are all sporadic. They don't understand the conversion rate percentages aren't as high as they are in the NFL with the extra points. 90%, 85%. Here, these teams go for 2 and they go for 3 when it's late in the game. A 9-point game is a 1-possession game. So there's money to be made there. In my personal opinion, I've done very well with the UFL. And the games are enjoyable. The games are enjoyable. I don't buy into the Rock's doctrine of player 54. I think these are players showing a showcase of what they're able to do. And I can't be convinced that they are doing it to try to impress an NFL scout. If you've played football and you've played sports, you understand that you're trying to play for a championship, regardless of what it is. I don't care if it's even your beer league softball team. You want to win. And these guys want to win. My takeaway, if you want to bet football and watch football, watch it. There's 3 weeks left in the season. Got a playoff, 2 playoff games, and then the championship game. So that's one takeaway. That's my biggest takeaway.
UFL is fun. I mean, I do a thing with Jim on Wednesday nights. Sometimes I'll hop on his live stream. Fun to watch it. Great product. My issue with the UFL is it's just so half-ass promoted. I really feel they could do a better job promoting it. I don't know if you heard what happened this weekend in Arlington. There was a promise of $2 beers.
I did see that.
And that went off with a little bit of a snafu, if you will. But yeah, I love the UFL. I think it's a great product. I think there definitely could be a lot of things going on. I thought it was awful that The Rock was on McAfee, and not once during that interview, he didn't mention it once. With all the shows on ESPN, I think they could easily do like a rotation, whatever the morning shows are, Monday, a player on this, Tuesday, this, Wednesday, this, Thursday, this. And then that way you get the connection. And I really feel like for this league to be successful, you need to make the connections with the players. And I really think that's the one thing that's kind of missing. So
you mentioned Jim, and he had me on his stream a few days ago, last week. And we were talking off camera. He said, what's one thing you could say to UFL executives? And I should have said what I said off camera. Let me ask you a question, right? Is the NFL your favorite?
Yeah.
Okay. So after the conference championship, and then there's Super Bowl 2 weeks from later, what do you got going on in that middle week? What do you watch sport-wise? Or are you bored to tears?
I mean, I'll be honest. I'll watch college basketball.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair because I do too. I'm an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. My whole family's from there. It's a big thing.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry you're a Crimson Tide fan,
man. Alabama is up here, and every other sport is down here for me.
I hate Mark Sears. But go ahead.
Well, I'm going somewhere with this. So you watch college basketball, but would you say that most people are kind of in peak football frenzy? They kind of are itching around, and the Pro Bowl's there, and nobody really cares. Mm-hmm. I think the UFL should have week 1 that week and fill that stopgap. People will watch because there really isn't much competition. Because even college basketball, it's not conference tournament time.
Yeah.
You're kind of in late season at that point. You're in conference play, but you're not. I think that people would watch a promoted football product versus another college basketball game they can catch 3 or 4 times a week. And then Super Bowl Saturday, you have full schedule. Week 2, so you're 2 weeks into it before the Super Bowl, right? And with 2 weeks, you've got time to showcase your product. And then you're going to get people to come out there because there are more eyes on it because there's just not a casual love for college basketball like there is for football, right? And I think that if they had these commercials that say, hey, man, you're not getting on football, here's another thing, kind of explain it. I think that would be the most eyes on the product, and it would keep more eyes on the product throughout the season because they've got a vested interest in week 1 and week 2. That's what I think they should do. That's how I think they could promote it better than anything else. Now, in those cities where they don't have the NFL, like Memphis, they need to get out there. Birmingham, they need to get out there. St. Louis, they get a good crowd. DC gets a good crowd. I don't know what's up in Michigan. It's cold outside. What are y'all doing? The Tigers game's got to be freezing right now. Ford Field right next to it.
Michigan, actually, if you look at the attendance, it's improved the most from week 1 to now. And the marketing they're doing is great. And I don't know how the setups are in Memphis and the other cities, but the one really good thing that Ford Field has is they came through, they redid the area. There's so many bars right there.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, being able to go there, and you know how it is. You don't want to go there. You don't want to go into a stadium and spend $12 on the beer, $14 on a hamburger. You want to go to the bar, get cheaper food, better food, cheaper, cheaper everything, and then walk into the stadium. Right. That's the appeal to me to Michigan. I think that's what they're doing because when the MLS first started, that's what they did to get people in it. They partnered up with the local bars in the area to help draw people there. And I think that's what Michigan's doing. Because if you look, I think they had over 11,000 their last home game, which is a pretty good number. I like that idea. Jim and I say it should be the week after the Super Bowl, but the week before is probably even a better idea because you can get that momentum and then you just carry it in. And the argument I always make with Jim is you need to feel a connection.
Yeah.
And with it being such a dead time between the end to when it starts, and it's right during the middle of March Madness, for me this year, it was really hard for me to get connected to any single team. My takeaway. So, Skubal for the Tigers after his recent start against the Rangers. His last 6 starts have been absolutely ridiculous. 50 strikeouts, just 1 walk, 0.97 ERA, and a 0.7 whip. Those are insane numbers. Right now, it's looking like he's going to win his second Cy Young. But it got me thinking, how different would the landscape of the AL be right now if the Orioles would have traded Jackson Holliday and Kobe Mayo to the Tigers for Skubal last season? Because that's what the Tigers wanted.
Yeah.
The O's said, no, you can only have one, not both. So the deal didn't happen. At the time, at the trade deadline, July 30th last year, the Tigers were 52 and 59, sitting in 4th in the AL Central, 4 games out of the wild card spot. Most people would have expected them to sell, but they hold on to Skubal, and that decision changed both teams. The O's finished 91 and 71, lost to the Royals in the wild card round. Tigers finished 86, 76, snuck into the playoffs, upset the Astros, pushed the Guardians to 5 games before falling short in a game they probably should have won. Fast forward this year, the Tigers 27 and 15, O's 15 and 24. Yeah. So that means since the trade deadline, the Tigers are 51 and 34, the O's 32 and 51. That is a massive swing. Now let's try to look at what the O's hung on to. Kobe Mayo in August, 4 for 41. That's a .098 average. All were singles. Spring training this year, he went 8 for 42. AAA this year, started out okay. 252, 6 homers, 22 RBIs. They called him up at the beginning of May. He went 1 for 12. He's already been sent back down. Jackson Holliday finished the season .90 batting average, 5 homers, 23 ribbies. This season, 264, 4 homers, 12 ribbies. Respectable, but it's not the franchise-altering production yet that the O's thought they'd be getting. Now I get it. 2 young players, best years are ahead of them. But when you have a chance to trade for a bona fide ace, a legit Cy Young contender, you take it, because we talked about it with the Celtics. We talked about it earlier with these 1 seeds. Windows in pro sports close fast. And as the O's window already closed, like, they're one of the worst teams in the AL right now. I don't know if they can move the stuff to get the pitching to compete this year. And it's pretty soon, all those guys that are young coming up the system are going to want new contracts. Are the O's, who are historically a cheap franchise, going to pay that? I doubt it. You got the Tigers on the flip side. They held on to the guy. They're one of the best teams in the league. The fact of the matter is, they're probably going to win 100 games with how bad those other teams in the division are. So when you just kind of think about it, if they would have made that trade, these teams would have been looking it totally changed Major League Baseball. And I just don't think enough people really have sat back and kind of looked at it. So that was kind of my big thing. How big
the ones you don't make. The best trades sometimes are the ones you don't make.
So let's jump right into it. Let's jump right into the bets. Those watching for the first time, we each have 3 bets. We have MLB and we have a little NBA. Justin, you're going to kick us off, my friend.
I like the Knicks to close the series out tomorrow. All 3 bets that I got are just your standard VIG, -110, There's nothing, no major value in those. These are just sides that I like. I think the Knicks are going to finish it off, man. The Celtics just have it's going. I think the game is going to go one of two ways. I don't think that you're going to see Boston jump out to a lead like they have been and just collapse. I think Brunson is going to take over. Not a big believer in momentum in some ways. I know that kind of goes against what we said earlier about one seeds, but I think that when you're a desperate team and you're facing elimination, I think you can overdo it. Plus, with Tatum out, I like the Knicks plus 4.5 and a sprinkle on the money line. That's where your value is going to be. With Tatum out, it's kind of surprising that the Knicks are still plus 4.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it should be a pick 'em, I would think. I mean, it's still a road game. It's still a playoff game. It's an elimination game, but I love the 4.5. Give it to me all day long.
I had it at I always make my little lines. I had it at Knicks plus 3. So I think you're right. I had the Knicks plus the points in the money line last night. I think I'm probably going to sit this one out, but I do have a player prop later in it that I'll get to in a little bit. My first bet is I'm taking the Milwaukee Brewers here plus 130. I do a show on Diamond Bets, and David and I are consistently talking about one of the most proven angles in baseball. Just betting teams looking to avoid a sweep. Over the last 20 years, if you just blindly bet this, you have a 1.3% ROI. Not too bad. Not flashy, but it's consistent. And that's exactly what we're going to do tomorrow with the Brewers. Brewers have been in this exact same spot 4 times this season. They are 3-1 in these situations. Now, when you look at the matchup, Cleveland, they're playing the Reds. Okay. The Battle of Ohio, potential look ahead spot. They're giving the ball to Gavin Williams tomorrow. Hasn't really been sharp, carrying a 4.38 ERA, a 1.73 whip. But when you look at his underlying metrics, his expected ERA is 5.18, and he's walking 5.6 batters per 9 innings. That is a huge red flag to me. Digging a little deeper, his pitching run value this season is -8. His fastball alone is -7 run value. That's significant because he throws his 4-seam fastball 52% of the time. Simply put, it's just not working. Meanwhile, the Brewers are sending out Logan Harris. He's only had 1 MLB start this season, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run against the A's. Sent him back to AAA because the Brewers have been dealing with so many pitcher injuries. They needed an arm. They brought him up. He was lights out. But because he's young and they signed Quintana, they set him down at AAA, 32.8% strikeout rate, 3.32 ERA, really showed some promise. And his main weapon, the changeup, and that's the key here because when we look at the Guardians this year, the lineups really struggled against the off-speed stuff. In fact, they only have 2 players in their projected lineup tomorrow that have a positive run value against changeups. Offensively, Cleveland ranks 24th in batting average, 19th in run scores against right-handed pitching this season. So if Henderson can just lead into strength, I think there's a real edge here. The trend supports it. The matchup supports it. At plus 130, I have value at it. So give me the Milwaukee Brewers plus 130 tomorrow against the Cleveland Guardians. The next bet, my friend, and you know what? I love this bet. And I'm going to tell you this, dude. I forgot how much fun going to a White Sox game was. I went down there this past weekend because they called up one of their prize prospects. Oh, my God. Phenomenal time. Anyone in the Chicagoland area, White Sox games are a better time than Cubs games. I'm just letting everyone know. White Sox games in the stadium, way better. That's all I'm going to say. But you go ahead. Tell us why you like the Southsiders tomorrow.
Well, first, disclaimer. I'm from the Northwest Indiana area, so I've been a Sox fan my whole life.
Okay.
And I've been to over 100 Sox games. So I can easily agree with you. I've been to 1 Cubs game my whole life. And it's just I'm just not a Cubs fan, and I'm not going to throw the Cubs under the bus because I don't need to do that, especially with how lousy the Sox have been. And before I get into this, let me ask if you remember, Fernando Tatis was in the White Sox farm system, right?
Correct.
And do you remember who they traded him for?
Oh my God, Jake Shields.
That is correct. And do you know how rotten that trade worked out for the Sox? His ERA ended up around 6. So when it goes back to your Tigers-Orioles non-trade that happens, sometimes that works. I mean, can you imagine the Sox having Tatis? I mean, they probably trade him for a haul right now, but it's just night and day with like those trades that you make for minor leagues. You just never know.
Yeah.
But I was looking at the Sox, and they're playing the Reds, who can't hit the ball to save their life. Right now, it's 1-0 White Sox in the 8th. These teams cannot score. Neither one of them score, neither one of them like to hit. If the Sox do hit, they put up a 9 spot or a 10 spot. But if they don't hit, it's 2 or less, right? And the Reds haven't exactly been lighting up offensively. I just don't feel – I think 1.5 – give it to me, because there's no dynamite pitching for the Reds. The Sox, they both have – I looked at the pitching matchup tomorrow. It's fairly even. I'm going to take the road team. I'm going to take 1.5 for that value at -110. Sometimes you get 1.5. It's usually, -130, -150. I mean, if you take the Rangers money line against the Rockies, you're still – and they're over 2.5. So I like the White Sox getting 1.5 here. Might be able to get another win. They're playing a lot better than last season, even though the record doesn't indicate that. So give me the Sox. Give me the 1.5. We'll call it a day. Simple as. Sometimes you just don't need to overthink, in my opinion, overthink a wager. You're just on the right side of it. You feel it. You got a good, fairly decent pitching matchup. You got young hitters for the Sox. They could just keep it close late. Could be a 3-2 snooze fest, but you got that hook. So I'll take the 1.5 here.
I like it. The Sox have some young guys, some young dudes I really like, and I'm actually, call me crazy, I think I'm going to bet them to make the playoffs next year. I mean, I really like Elko looks good. The catcher whose name I can't pronounce, I like him. I like Midroff. I like the pitcher who they had pitching when I was there. He looks solid. Guys got some dudes, and I really think the big thing for them is you guys finally understood we need to get an analytics department. You guys were the last MLB team to have an analytic department, which absolutely blows my mind.
Also, there is one other fun fact about the Sox. The only team to never sign anybody for over $100 million. Never been done.
Really?
Yep. Never been done. Never. And here we are in the last place in the Comedy Central. They won't sign anybody. Did you know with Bryce Harper, when he was a free agent, words out of his mouth, best trip I had was the White Sox. Why didn't he sign with them? Jerry Reinsdorf didn't show up to the second meeting. If that doesn't make you want to take pitchforks to the ballpark for Reinsdorf, like you couldn't show up. Bryce Harper wanted to play there. He would have hit bombs there all day. That's a hitter's park. But yeah, they've never signed anybody long-term like that. They just don't know what it is. Pitchers, I could see you're a little apprehensive to do that because like you get a Strasburg situation or an injury and you're just stuck. But with regular hitting and fielding, it's just crazy. We were hoping for something in the offseason. I don't know why they didn't go after Alex Bregman. I don't know why they didn't go after Pete Alonso. Can you imagine Pete Alonso just raking in the cell? I'm sorry, at the rate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, playoffs next year. If the pitching's right, that bullpen's a disaster. So it's just got to get – that's a nice bet. I like that. I don't do a whole lot of futures, but that might be something we're sprinkling.
Yeah, and it all depends on the number. Like some of these teams you get are just so mispriced. And for me, for futures, I like to hit a home run. Like this year in the NBA, I had the 76ers 9-1 not to make the playoffs. So when I see a future like that, I love it. I had the Pistons 4-1 to make it. If you can get 3-1 or higher, I think there's definitely take a swing at the Southsiders. My next bet, and here is my NBA bet. Are you ready to see how filthy this is, my friend?
Let's get it.
Jaylen Brown over 3.5 turnovers at plus 130. Tatum is sidelined. Knicks defense is going to zero in on Jaylen Brown. That means what? OG Anunoby is going to be his primary defender, one of the most disciplined and physical perimeter defenders in the league. So let's think about that. Tatum, who has better handles and actually a left hand when he dribbles, averaged 3.8 turnovers per game with OG guarding him. That just shows you how disruptive OG is.
Right.
Now he's going to be going against Brown, who's been facing weaker defenders, who is averaging 3.5 turnovers for the playoffs this series. Now, a very small sample size. When Brown played and Tatum did it, he averaged 3.5 turnovers, and he went over the total 3 of the 4 games. Now, look, it's only 4 games. Very, very, very small sample size. Now, with Tatum not there, I feel Brown is going to force more because he's going to be asked to do more in the half-court offense, initiating the offense, creating off the dribble, more pick and roll. The ball's going to be in his hands more, and that's just not when Jaylen Brown is his best, when he's working with the ball. We saw that 2 years ago against the finals, against the Warriors. He was a turnover machine. Now,
to be said, I don't mean to interrupt you there a little bit, but something also psychologically needs to be said about your star player out. So, and in an elimination game. So are you going to get into Kobe Bryant mode, or are you going to fold under pressure? So I really like your analysis on why this turnover line, even though, I mean, and you're getting it at a value. So that's really good line digging. I want you to know that I love that take on that. Great stuff.
He's going to force. He is totally going to force, and he has no left hand. Jaylen Brown literally has no left hand. OG is one of the best premier defenders. If I could find a 5 or a 6, I'd probably sprinkle a little bit of that, but no book is going to offer that. So I'm fine with Jaylen Brown over 3.5 turnovers at plus 130. Next bet, my friend.
Keeps coming close. Last week, or the last game, 117 to 110. The week before, the game 4 was 103 to 97. It's real close. It keeps going over. I like the over in this one again. I don't think Curry's going to play.
Yeah, he's out.
I think that there's a overreaction sometimes to things like this. Now, obviously, Steph Curry is going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's a great player. He's a scorer. But the rest of the team picks up the slack just fine. And Ant-Man scores. It's going to be a great game. I'll take the over. If it had gotten to 205, I'd say no. But I think that this is like a 110-107 affair. I like taking the over on this. Give me the buckets.
It's going to be interesting, and we really haven't had that Butler game yet, if you know what I mean. We haven't had that, oh shit, Jimmy Butler's here type game. So it's really going to be interesting. Is this going to be the game where we get the Butler game and everything kind of turns on its head? My last and final bet, I'm going to the diamond. Give me the San Diego Padres -0.5 for the first 5, -118. Angels have been struggling mightily against right-handed pitching, 25th in batting average versus righties over the last 2 weeks. Sets up well for Vasquez, who's the expected starter for San Diego. Primary pitches are the sweeper and the cutter. When we look at the projected Angels lineup, they really don't do good against those type of pitches. Poor run values against both types. Vasquez has shown improvement. His 1.63 whip over those last 2 starts is concerning, but his ERA is 2.45. But those numbers are better than what he's done this season. So I think he's headed in the right direction. Other side, Angels have Kyle Hendricks starting, who leans heavily on the off-speed pitches, especially the sinker. That's the problem because the Padres have hit off-speed pitches well all year, specifically the sinker, which Hendricks tends to lean on the deeper it gets in the count. When we look over the last 2 weeks, the Padres rank first in batting average, third in runs scored against right-handed pitching. Simply put, offensive hot. Hendricks isn't in good form. When we look at his last 3 starts, 6.32 ERA, a 1.59 whip. Not the kind of numbers you want against this elite Padres offense. Now, when we kind of look at the trends, this season, the Padres are covering the first 5 run line 57.9% of the time with a 21.8% ROI. When they are favored against a right-handed pitcher, that jumps to a 68.8% against the time they cover with a 47.7% ROI. Meanwhile, the Angels are covering the first 5 run line at just 28.6% of the time against righties with a brutal negative 32.3% ROI. Pitching edge, offensive form, the batting trends all point me in one direction. I'm going to take the Padres here, -0.5 for the first 5 at -118, my friend.
Great stuff.
Justin, I'd like to thank you for coming on and talking a little shop. Anytime I can have someone come on and it feels like we've been talking for 5 minutes and I look up, it's been for over 40 minutes, always a great sign. So I'd love to have you back. We can talk off camera about what your schedule is coming up. But before we do that, why don't you tell everyone, what is your YouTube video schedule? Kind of like what can they expect for you on a week, and what you post on your Twitter and everything. On your X, your X.
So it's real simple right now because the majority of what I do is college football. It's mostly football compared to all the other sports. And since we're in UFL, I've been doing live streams every Sunday. I'll put them up, a premiere, when I feel that all the games are done, usually about a half hour to an hour thereafter, because people that watch are still kind of buzzing over the game a little bit. But they're always on Sunday for now, the live streams. And every day, every morning around 6 to 7, maybe 8 o'clock Pacific time, I take a few minutes to try to put together a video for the viewer's eyes in the background. Just try and record some clips, some basketball clips or baseball clips of the team that's playing, and just basically put my menu out there for what I think is going on today. So every morning you'll see a short. Sometimes I'll post 2, but the menu is just, and it's normally music I don't listen to, because I notice if I put music that I do listen to, nobody watches the shorts. My viewership goes down. Today I used the video, the song, I don't even know, it's called What the Helly. I don't even know. I don't listen to hip hop, but it's got over 1,500 views. So that does have an effect on the algorithm, but it doesn't affect what's on the screen. So every day I put a short out there. I put a play. Sometimes it's just 1. Sometimes it's 2. Sometimes it's 3. It just depends on what I like and what I see when I do my morning rituals, because that's how I do my betting. I usually don't make bets a day in advance, but I try to look at some things that I have lined up every morning, clarity, and get things going from there. I love sports betting. But come football season, you'll really see a lot more of me. Things will change. I'll probably do Sunday live streams in that gap from the end of Red Zone to the beginning of the Sunday night game, instead of having to watch that awful NBC pregame show. You guys can tune into me.
Awesome, dude. I'll definitely tune into that. Bigger question is, what type of music do you like, my friend?
I like metal, rock, or old outlaw country. So if I put some Slayer on there, if I put some Johnny Cash, just doesn't hit with the YouTube Shorts audience. They're more into music that I just don't know. Maybe you might like it. I don't know.
You know what, dude? I did grow up in the D. I do like a little Eminem. I do like a little hip hop. So that is
there. You go,
Justin. Love having you on. You know, we'll talk off camera about doing some stuff in the future.
Okay.
Make sure to give him a follow again on YouTube, JustinPaulSports.
Correct.
On X, it's just JustinPaulSport. No S at the end. So make sure to check him out, and appreciate you. Good luck in your bets, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
All right. Appreciate it.